People, everything has been on the internet from the beginning. This light-skinned albino came on the internet and told a story 3 different times.
And just starts doing his thing. And as he's doing his thing, you see, yo, bro, settle down. Like, I don't want you. Like, you can't get yourself together till you get in the house.
I never seen another man want to be involved so much with have those allegations with another man. Not only that, I never seen a man be obsessed with another man like that. Because I got niggas obsessed, but a whole man that got kids obsessed with another man is crazy. And on top of that, pocket watching another man is crazy.
This Stefon Diggs situation just keeps taking unexpected turns, and now there's another update that's getting everyone talking. Just when it seemed like things couldn't get any more complicated, Cardi B stepped into the conversation, and that completely changed the discussion. At first, I thought this would be another celebrity headline that would come and go without much happening. But once I started looking through the timeline, the legal dispute, and all the public reactions, it became clear there was a lot more going on than people first realized. The deeper I looked, the more questions I ended up with. So let's go through everything together, because this story has only gotten more complicated as new details continue to come out. Here's what happened. Cardi B publicly responded to Christopher Griffith, who has made allegations against Stefon Diggs as part of an ongoing legal case. She questioned the consistency of the claims, saying parts of the story appeared to change over time. That response immediately caught people's attention and sparked even more discussion across social media. According to Cardi, the earlier version of Christopher Griffith's account didn't include one of the later allegations that eventually appeared in the court filings. She pointed to that difference and questioned why the details seemed to change as time went on. That's when Cardi said, "This math here is not mathin' at all." That comment immediately grabbed people's attention and spread quickly online. What made it even more surprising was that Cardi herself acknowledged she and Stefon weren't exactly on the best terms at the time, making her response stand out even more. She even joked that it felt strange defending someone she wasn't getting along with at the time. Even so, Cardi made it clear that based on what she had seen, she wasn't convinced by Christopher's claims. Then she made another comment that quickly changed the direction of the entire conversation. Cardi suggested that Christopher seemed unusually focused on Stefon. Keep that point in mind because it became a major part of what happened next. Christopher didn't stay silent for long. He responded directly in the comments, and instead of firing back with insults, he said he respected Cardi and women in general too much to reply in a disrespectful way. That response immediately got even more people paying attention. But Christopher wasn't finished. He told Cardi she needed to look at the bigger picture, arguing that his history with Stefon and the people around him began long before Cardi was ever involved.
And as he's touching on himself and feeling on himself and like talking through what he's about to do when he won't be used and how pretty much basically saying how horny that he is and like pulls his man out, starts to play with himself. And I'm telling him, yo, bro, keep your composure. I'm trying to laugh it off because I'm with you. Why you like, what are you doing? And he reached over to me like, man, come on. And he got his thing in his hand.
He also responded to another claim that had been spreading across social media. Some people were accusing Christopher of taking things from Stefon and people in his circle, but Christopher firmly denied those claims. He said he wasn't the one responsible, and instead claimed that he was the person who had belongings taken from him by people connected to Stefon. He also asked people to consider how difficult it has been dealing with this situation day after day while so much was being said about him online. That's the moment that really stood out to me because Cardi had described him as being overly focused on Stefon. And from there, the conversation took another unexpected turn. Then another update got people talking even more. Christopher uploaded a carousel featuring 19 different photos of himself and Stefon together. The pictures showed them spending time together, supporting each other, attending basketball games, smiling, and sharing moments that appear to reflect a close friendship over the years. In the caption, he wrote, "Too worried about N and fashion, missing preseason action. Please leave me alone now, and let's await trial before judge and jury." That post immediately sparked a wave of reactions online. Some people felt the photos were simply meant to show that the two genuinely knew each other and shared a real history.
The first time was, I asked some money, like he was my people, and he came and whispered in my ear, like, oh, you want the money, you got to do this, this, and that. Then, when your story wasn't getting picked up how you wanted it to get picked up, you juiced it up, and you spiced up. And now it's, oh yeah, he pulled out, yeah, he was high and he pulled out his meat. You said two different stories. And what the crazy shit is that bloggers and people that's supposed to be making their research.
Others saw the same post very differently, saying it gave off the impression that there was still unresolved feelings or that Christopher seemed unable to move on from the situation. As expected, the comment section quickly filled with people debating both sides. Again, everything people were saying online was just speculation, not proof. But that didn't stop social media from connecting its own dots. That's a big reason why this story has become so divided, with people arguing over every new update. If you remember one of my earlier videos, this legal dispute actually began before Cardi B ever entered the conversation. Stefon Diggs first filed a defamation lawsuit against Christopher Griffith after Christopher publicly made serious allegations about him involving alleged misconduct and claimed there was an effort to keep him from speaking out following an incident that Christopher says took place at Diggs' Maryland home in 2023. Stefon has denied those allegations from the beginning. His position has remained the same throughout the case. He says the alleged events never happened, the claims are false, and that the public accusations harmed his reputation. Christopher later filed his own countersuit connected to the same alleged 2023 incident, making the legal dispute even more complicated as both sides continued to stand by their versions of events. Here's another part of the story that keeps coming up in online discussions. Christopher has said he has evidence that supports his claims. According to court filings from his legal team, they turned over more than 100 pages of iMessages and Instagram direct messages that were allegedly exchanged with Stefon. His attorneys have also pointed to travel records, claiming Stefon's management arranged and paid for flights that brought Christopher to Maryland during the weekend connected to the case. However, there's one important detail that often gets overlooked. Those messages have not been released publicly, which means people outside the legal proceedings can't verify what they contain or what context they may provide. As a result, much of the online debate is based on claims made by each side rather than publicly available evidence. Stefon also publicly challenged Christopher, essentially saying, if those messages support his story, then post them. Christopher later responded by saying he had tried to keep things respectful, but that Stefon's repeated public denials made him more willing to present additional information and documents through the court process instead.
Are not even doing their research to see how this man did the story two different sides. Said the stories two different ways. Then on top of that, the truth, that shit had me going crazy. So imagine when somebody imagine you're such a hater, you steal from somebody, you hate the fact that they didn't forgive you because you stole from them. You didn't like that everybody around your circle knew that you stole. So what you did, you went and you put the worst allegations, the worst allegation on a man.
So, where do I land after looking at all of this? At first, I figured Cardi's reaction might have been influenced by her connection to Stefon, but after going through the timeline, the court filings, and the public responses, it also became clear why so many people believe this is a matter that should be decided through the legal process rather than on social media. Right now, there are lawsuits, countersuits, public statements, and countless opinions flying around online. There are also serious claims that Stefon has consistently denied. Until everything is fully reviewed through the court process, it's important not to treat online theories or viral posts as confirmed facts. One thing I still can't stop thinking about, though, is those 19 photos. Were they simply meant to show that the two really did know each other and shared a history? Or was Cardi picking up on something when she suggested Christopher seemed unusually focused on Stefon? That's one question people across social media continue to debate. Another detail that caught my attention is how differently people are interpreting the exact same information. One group believes the public comments and social media posts tell an important part of the story, while others argue that none of it should carry much weight until everything is addressed in court. That split in opinion has made it difficult to separate personal viewpoints from the actual legal process. At the same time, both sides have remained firm in their positions. Stefon continues to deny the allegations and maintains that the claims against him are false. Christopher, on the other hand, continues to stand by his account and says he intends to present supporting information through the legal proceedings. Because of that, every news statement from either side ends up being examined closely, with people trying to figure out whether it adds new context or simply raises even more questions about what really happened. One thing that has made this case especially unusual is how much of the conversation has been happening in public instead of only inside the courtroom. Every time someone posts a statement, shares a screenshot, or responds to a comment, people immediately begin comparing it to previous interviews, legal filings, and earlier social media posts, trying to piece together the full timeline for themselves. That approach, however, has also created a lot of confusion. Court filings, public comments, and online reactions don't always provide the complete picture, and it's easy for individual posts to be taken out of context. That's why it's important to separate what's actually part of the legal record from opinions, assumptions, and theories shared across the internet. Another thing worth pointing out is that legal cases often take much longer than people expect. While social media moves from one headline to the next in a matter of hours, court proceedings can unfold over months or even longer. During that time, new filings may be submitted, additional responses can be made, and both sides have opportunities to present their positions through the legal process. Until that process moves forward, many of the biggest questions people have are likely to remain unanswered, even as more updates continue to surface.
I'm gonna get back to it.
Yeah.
The crazy thing about it is they stole an orange toiletry Goyard bag from me. Part of the reason why I put the ICG on this bag, they snatched my orange Goyard. When they snatched my orange Goyard, it's nothing but chrome, all types of nonsense in it. They took that same one-of-one chrome heart shit and handed it directly to him. I'm watching this dude for the next 2 years walk Paris Fashion Week, walk Monday Night Football, walk Thursday Night Football, be outside in the off-season wearing pieces that I know for a fact, one of one, are mine. I have receipts to prove it. So when it comes to that,
There's another reason this case has drawn so much attention, and it has less to do with new developments and more to do with how people are interpreting every detail. Instead of waiting for official updates, many online have started analyzing old posts, past appearances, and previous interactions, hoping they'll uncover something that explains the bigger picture. The problem is that the same piece of information can lead to completely different conclusions depending on who's looking at it. That's also why it's become important to separate confirmed information from online speculation. The legal filings outline each side's claims and responses, but social media often adds its own theories that aren't necessarily supported by the public record. Once those theories start spreading, they can take on a life of their own, even if they're never backed up by evidence presented in court. Another point that's easy to overlook is that both sides are approaching this from very different perspectives. Stefon continues to deny the allegations and argues that the claims have unfairly damaged his reputation. Christopher, meanwhile, continues to stand by his account and says the legal process is where the facts should ultimately be examined. Those are two completely different positions, and for now, neither side appears to be backing away from its stance. With that in mind, the next stage of the case could end up being just as important as everything that's happened so far, especially if additional court documents or official filings provide more context about the issues both sides have been arguing over. Another interesting part of this situation is how quickly public opinion is shifted from one update to the next. One day, people focus on a social media post. The next day, attention turns to a court filing. Then someone gives a public response, and suddenly the entire discussion changes direction again. That constant back and forth has made it difficult for many people to keep track of what has actually been confirmed and what is simply being debated online. It's also worth remembering that legal disputes often involve claims and counterclaims from both sides. Filing a lawsuit or a countersuit doesn't automatically prove that either side is correct. Instead, each party presents its position, responds to the other side's arguments, and follows the legal process until the court has the opportunity to review the evidence and determine the outcome. That's a very different process from the fast-moving conversations happening across social media. At this stage, there are still questions that haven't been answered publicly, and it's possible that some details won't become clear until future court proceedings or official filings. Until then, the public is largely seeing statements released by the people involved and the legal documents that have been made available. That means every new filing, response, or official update has the potential to provide additional context, especially as both sides continue presenting their positions through the legal process.
Someone please tell Cardi B that this is not a battle she should be fighting. I mean, hopping on Instagram to defend your baby daddy in the comments is one thing. But when someone has multiple accusations against them, sometimes the best option is to just be quiet because Stefon is dealing with a legal situation. So he has lawyers, a PR team. He has people whose literal job is to handle situations like this. So you hopped in the comments arguing with people, solve exactly what? It just makes the situation worse. And Cardi has a history of doing this.
One detail that shouldn't get lost in all of this is how much attention has been placed on public perception instead of the legal process itself. It's understandable why people are interested, especially when well-known names are involved. But online discussions can sometimes move much faster than verified information becomes available. That's why it's important to distinguish between official court filings, public statements, and personal opinions shared across social media. Another thing that stands out is that both sides have continued to communicate their positions in different ways. Some updates have come through legal filings, while others have come through interviews, social media posts, or public comments. Each new statement adds another piece to the timeline, but it doesn't necessarily answer the bigger questions on its own. Looking at only one update without considering the broader sequence of events can easily create an incomplete picture. It's also interesting to see how one public comment can completely shift the focus of the discussion. At first, much of the attention centered on the legal claims themselves. Then, Cardi's response introduced a different angle, leading people to debate the credibility of the competing accounts and the history between the people involved. After that, the photos Christopher shared became another major point of discussion because different viewers interpreted them in completely different ways. Those moments show how quickly the focus can change as new developments emerge, even while the underlying legal dispute continues moving through the court process. Another aspect that has kept people paying attention is how the timeline has become a major part of the discussion. Instead of focusing on just one statement or one post, many have gone back to compare when different claims, responses, and legal filings were made. Some believe the sequence of events supports one side, while others argue the timeline can be interpreted in completely different ways depending on which details are emphasized. That's one reason there's been so much debate over the same set of public information. It's also important to remember that court cases rarely unfold all at once. New filings can clarify earlier claims. Responses may address previous arguments, and both parties have opportunities to provide additional context as the case progresses. Because of that, people following the story from social media are often seeing only portions of a much larger legal process. A single headline or viral post may highlight one detail, but it doesn't always reflect everything that's been presented in court.
Every time someone she loves gets into something, here she comes wanting to fight the entire internet. You know, sometimes the best way to ride for your man is to shut up. Because now people who weren't talking about you are now talking about you. Girl, go enjoy your relationship. Go on vacation. But arguing with the media and strangers over your grown man, that's something I would not sign up. So let me know what y'all think in the comments. Is Cardi B just being a loyal girlfriend? Or should she let her baby daddy fight his own?
Same time, public reactions have become part of the story themselves. Every statement from someone connected to the situation is analyzed almost immediately, with people comparing it against earlier interviews, comments, and court documents. Some viewers believe those public responses reveal meaningful context, while others think they don't carry much weight unless they're supported by evidence presented through the legal process. That difference in perspective has shaped much of the discussion surrounding this case, and it's likely that future court filings and official responses will provide a clearer picture of how both sides intend to move forward. One question that keeps coming up is whether the public conversation has started influencing how people view the case before it's even resolved. That's something that often happens when a legal dispute involves well-known public figures. Every interview, social media post, or public response gets picked apart almost instantly, and people begin forming opinions long before all of the facts have been reviewed through the legal process. That's also why context matters so much. A single quote, screenshot, or filing can sound very different depending on what came before it and what follows afterward. Looking at one update by itself doesn't always tell the full story. When you put the timeline together, you start to see why different groups have reached completely different conclusions while looking at many of the same public records and statements. Another point worth mentioning is that legal filings are designed to present each side's position, not to serve as the final word on what happened. One filing may contain allegations, while another contains denials or responses. As the case continues, both sides can submit additional documents, challenge each other's arguments, and respond to new developments. That's why legal disputes often evolve over time instead of being decided by one dramatic moment. For now, both sides continue to stand by their positions. Stefon maintains that the allegations are false and has continued to dispute the claims made against him.
Christopher continues to stand by his account and says he intends to pursue his claims through the court process. Until more official information becomes available, many of the biggest questions surrounding this case are still tied to what will be presented as the legal proceedings continue. Another piece of this story that's easy to overlook is how quickly people have drawn conclusions from information that may not tell the complete story. In a legal dispute, it's common for only certain documents of statements to become public at different stages. That means people following the case online are often seeing individual pieces instead of the entire picture, which can make it difficult to fully understand the context behind every claim or response. It's also interesting how much attention has been given to the public exchanges compared with the court filings themselves. A single comment on social media can generate thousands of reactions within hours, while an official filing may take much longer for people to read and understand. Because of that, short clips and screenshots sometimes end up shaping public opinion more than the detailed legal documents that explain each side's arguments.
As a man, I don't care about any other man's traction. You to track to advise, so on and so forth. As long as you ain't tracking no kids, do what you do. Nobody cares. At least I do. But when it comes to this Stefon Diggs and the situation with the young man who claims they messed around, they used to be friends, just a fun little friends. We got picture, video evidence, make friends. Never in the history of manhood and friendship I ever heard of a man being cool enough, them falling out, and due to the falling out, a man make up that they messed around or were in some sort of relationship.
Another factor is that both parties appear committed to defending their positions through the legal process. Stefon has continued to deny the allegations and maintains that the claims against him are untrue. Christopher has continued to stand by his account and says he intends to support his position through the court proceedings. Those opposing viewpoints have remained consistent even as new public statements have been made. Looking ahead, the next developments are likely to come through official filings, scheduled court proceedings, or statements released by the people involved or their legal representatives. Those updates may answer some of the questions that have been circulating for weeks, or they could introduce entirely new issues that haven't been discussed publicly yet. Until then, there's still a lot about this case that remains unresolved, and the legal process will ultimately determine how the dispute moves forward. There's also something else that's worth keeping in mind as this case continues to unfold. Public attention tends to focus on the biggest headlines, but legal cases are usually built on a series of filings, responses, motions, and supporting documents that develop over time. Because of that, one update rarely tells the entire story. Each new filing can add context, clarify an earlier point, or respond to an argument that was made previously. Another reason this situation has been so difficult for many people to follow is that there are several conversations happening at the same time. One discussion is taking place inside the courtroom through legal filings and formal procedures. Another is happening across social media where people are reacting to interviews, comments, and viral posts. Those two worlds don't always move at the same pace, and they don't always rely on the same information. That's why it's possible for public opinion to shift quickly, even when the legal record hasn't changed. It's also notable how every public statement is being compared against earlier remarks. Whether it's something said in an interview, written in a court filing, or posted online, people immediately start looking for consistency between different accounts. Supporters of each side often point to the details they believe strengthen their position, while critics focus on points they think raise additional questions. That back and forth has become a major part of how the case is being discussed. At this stage, though, many of the key issues are still tied to the legal proceedings rather than public commentary. Until more official information becomes available, both sides continue to maintain their positions, and the next meaningful developments are likely to come through the court process rather than assumptions made from individual social media posts or isolated headlines.
I've never known a single man on earth to do that or lie about that. I don't know what those two had going on, but I do know men just don't make that kind of thing up. Just for what? Why would they do that? So I don't want to cast aspersions on anyone. Again, I don't care about these folks, how they identify romantically and all that. I'm just saying, I ain't never heard of a man lying about something like that. That's all I'm saying.
One thing that hasn't changed throughout all of these updates is that both sides continue to stick to their positions. Despite the public reactions, interviews, and social media discussions, the central issues are still being handled through the legal process. That's an important distinction because online conversations can move quickly, while court proceedings usually take much more time. Another detail people have pointed out is how every new development seems to send viewers back to revisit earlier events. Whether it's a public statement, a legal filing, or a social media post, people keep comparing new information with what was already on the record, trying to understand how everything fits together. Depending on which details someone focuses on, they can walk away with a very different interpretation of the situation. For now, though, the timeline is still developing. More filings, responses, or official updates could provide additional context as the case continues, and those details may help answer some questions that are still being discussed. At this point, I really don't know, and that's exactly why this case has sparked so many different opinions. There are still plenty of unanswered questions. Both sides continue to stand by their positions, and the legal process is still ongoing. Until more verified information becomes available through official channels, it's important not to treat online theories as confirmed facts. Now, I want to hear what you think. Do you believe Cardi made valid points when she questioned the inconsistencies she said she noticed? Do Christopher's posts simply add context to their history, or did they change the way you view the situation? And what are your thoughts about the unreleased messages that both sides have mentioned throughout this legal dispute? Drop your opinion in the comments below because I'm genuinely interested in hearing different perspectives. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more updates, and share this video with someone who has been following the story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.